morning again, folks. Welcome to my last video of the front load and to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we're going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do, the usual disclaimers, and because I just have to, I'm going to say it again. You cannot cite yourself as evidence to prove your point. Paul has even gotten into this weird circle-ass thinking. He's not over it yet either.
I'm right, and I have this here academic paper that I wrote myself that says I'm right. So since I say I'm right, and I'm supposedly an expert on saying that I'm right, I must be right.
Sane, right? That's because it is. And coming from someone who has legitimate mental health issues, that's saying something. I can't get over it, folks. And we're going to see more of it, too, because this is like the third paper now that he's wrote to try and tell us why he's right. That's called clinical bias. Doesn't really work, does it? An actual study is something that is independently conducted by individuals within the same field who do not have a dog in the fight. That's how this shit works. I just wanted to say that because God. All right. To the disclaimer, shall we? Okay. In the description box, folks, you're going to find a link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It is written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's quote-unquote behavior modification program. Matter of fact, the JRC doesn't want you to read this article so much, they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they do not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic has refused, so you know the drill. Please read that article and don't forget to share on all your social media. We also have NeuroClastic's public statement regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding, folks, just in case the JRC actually has the balls to see through with their threat. We got the pertinent links to the Agape boarding school situation as well. Agape boarding school is a Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri that takes in so-called troubled male teens that has pending over 21 civil lawsuits, allegations, and claims leveled against it. All of them thus far corroborated and substantiated by the hard evidence collected during the independent investigations done by the Missouri Department of Social Services, and they include the following: sodomy, rape, sexual assault, child abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, child trafficking, starvation, and that's just for starters. Excuse me, phlegm. We don't have an edit button. You have one former staff member arrested by the FBI. You've got another, a doctor still on the premises with full access to the boys up on multiple, substantiated by hard evidence again by the Missouri Department of Social Services of rape, sodomy, and sexual assault of the boys there. We got a brand new Attorney General, another mega Republican. Please fucking kill us. This is my argument. Comet 2023. That's how done I am with this shit. But anyways, we also got the governor hyped up on a power trip. So please share all those articles. Don't forget to share and sign the change.org shut Agape boarding school down petition. I'm sorry, but at this point, these schools have such similarities, it shouldn't even be that much of a surprise that I will call one school when actually referencing another, because let's face it, they all took their playbook from the JRC. The only difference between here and there is they out here use Christianity as a shield, while Matthew Israel uses himself and pseudoscience as his shield. It's all still cult-like, and it's all still bullshit. Speaking of the JRC, we do also have all the pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign as well, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, the templates, Jennifer Masaba's behavioral sheet of shockable offenses, a small clip out of the 7-hour ordeal undergone by Andre McCollins back in 2002, and the ever-present templates, and then the ever-present self-explanatory change.org shut the Judge Rotenberg Center down petition. When we discuss the JRC, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of peoples with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please go ahead, use your headphones, all right? This channel is marked not for children for a reason. We use profanity and we talk about dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and watching this, parental supervision is very obviously advised, all right? Okay. Now, trigger warning. We are about to once again descend into the mad ravings of a lunatic mind known by a Dr. Matthew Israel. You're going to hear arrogance, stupidity, victim blaming, gaslighting, lies, bad pseudoscience, enough ableism and bigotry to circle the globe several thousand times, so just know that's going to be there. Remember, we're dealing with an individual who thinks he can cite a paper he wrote himself as evidence as to why he's supposedly right. Yeah, that. And he expects the UN to take him seriously. Also, I want to state this. I'm sorry, but in most particular scientific or medical journals, when an individual or a group of individuals are submitting a paper, they go at least for a while to describe the baseline from which they're operating off of. Matthew Israel just tells you it's a baseline and then goes on to try to convince you why he's right with flowery, nonsensical language and medical jargon he pulled out of his ass that actually does not match any medical jargon actually being used in the field to this moment, or even to the moment of 2010, I might add. So yeah, there's that. Okay. Now let's read this stupid, shall we? Fuck me. The following 36 charts show how effective JRC's behavioral skin shock has been for the treatment of aggression for all students who were started on the use of skin shocks during the 2-year period of 2003 through 2005. For fuck's sake, holy... And he's got a chart to prove it. What are you? Massachusetts Ross Perot? Okay? The fuck? I'm sorry, but you cannot make these grandiose claims about how it is effective for 100% of the students when you're the one running the program. Conflict of interest, sir. For fuck's sake. Your charts don't mean shit. And their only good use would be to have assistance and maybe starting a campfire. Charts that you create when the subject is you and your treatment are immediately garbage and should be thrown away immediately. This is not being done by an independent group of individuals. You do not adequately describe your baseline. You miss all the major points of writing a coherent medical paper. Okay? Fuck! I can't deal with this level of just arrogant stupid. You ever meet those individuals who are just completely batshit? But they are so convinced that they're right that they are just completely contemptuous, out of the stratosphere arrogant about it? That's Dr. Matthew Israel. Charts for all the students are shown, not just the selected charts that show favorable results. And I should just take your word for it because you wrote the paper? Doesn't work, doctor. And I'm just supposed to take your word that you're not skewing the evidence, even though you have been found guilty in court for doing exactly that. Matter of fact, doctor, if it was so favorable, and this is just so, oh my gosh, awesome, just the cutting edge of treatment, why the fuck were you caught ordering others to destroy the evidence? Wouldn't you, as a proud doctor, want to instead present that evidence for the world to see and marvel and worship at your fucking narcissistic feet? Just saying. Saying is all. Each aggressive behavior is shown during 1 week. The charts are arranged chronological order according to when within the 2-year period covered by the report the student was started on skin shock. The red vertical line shows where the skin shock was introduced as a supplement to the ongoing positive programming. Again, this is not positive programming, doctor. It is cookie cutter ABA bullshit. He's once again trying to use similar words so that you can connect it to something else which is entirely unrelated to what he actually gets up to. This doctor does not know what positive reinforcement even is. He has not the first clue as to how it's actually implemented, nor does he even provide an honest view of just how effective it is for the individuals who are on it. Okay? What he's mentioning here is ABA, a bastardized version of ABA, I might add. And ABA has its own fucking problems. Alright? I just want to straighten that out just in case anybody might mistakenly believe that he's referring to something else. He's not. In each case, the frequency drops, in most cases to 0 or near 0, as soon as the skin shock is introduced. Again, I bring you back to the point that I've had to repeat ad nauseum because this doctor's batshit. Fear does work. Fear is effective, immediately so, but not permanently. You cannot say that it is absolutely effective when it does not produce permanent results. Immediate, yes. Permanent, no. And the reason why it's not permanent, because once again, as with most ABA, even this bastardized, psychotic stepchild of it, the triggering issue is never dealt with. And as long as you do not deal with the triggering issue and allow it to remain, it's always going to be there. It's basic fucking logic. Basic logic. When you want to sit there and say, but well, it becomes worse when they come off the devices and away from us, may I again cite psychological damage and the effect that can have on someone with a disability or mental health issues. Logic! God! If I start walking up down the street later, pacing and saying logic dictates while throwing my hands up in the air, nobody be shocked, okay? That's my level of just fucking done with this illogical bullshit I'm dealing with. And I deal with enough illogical fuckers in a general day. Look, my cat's like, you need to pet me and calm down, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to pet me and calm down. Yeah, right, Mr. Meow. If you see the computer move, it's because he's headbutting and nuzzling the corner of it, by the way. He like, I'm going to comfort my mommy. I'm going to sit here and purr. This is why he's part of the team, folks. This is why he's the co-anchor. He's there to sit here and calm me down. Ugh, God. I can't with this dude. In each case, frequency drops in most cases to 0 or near 0 as soon as the shock is introduced. Again, no duh, fear works. It has an immediate result, but it's not permanent, and therefore that is why you cannot call it a success. Okay? For fuck's sake. Medical treatment, nothing is actually 100% success. That's why you have individuals who need to remain on medication for a good majority of their lives. But does it bring it down enough to where we can function? Yes, and that should be the goal. That is a goal that is based in reality, not in this la la land fantasy he wants to sell you. The drop is even greater than it may seem to the eye because the vertical scale divide scale, the heaven blue horizontal line starting from the bottom and reading up for 1, 10, 100, 1,000 per week, instead of the more typical additions and subtraction scale. Oh, for fuck's sake. Now he's going to sit there and tell you why his paper is actually more accurate and right than everyone else's. The fucking balls of this guy. The absolute sheer arrogance of this fucker. Fucking God. The charts below for 36 students cover the period of May 2003 and 2005. We'll bust into that next week. But welcome to another episode of I'm Right, and this paper that I wrote here says I'm right. And I'm going to tell you why I'm more right than everybody else, because the math that I use is better than everyone else's. Even though what everyone else uses is the fucking medical standard. His dude is literally trying to tell you that his study is better and that the way he does things and skews things is better than the fucking medical standard for a paper written for a medical journal. Right? So what is this teaching us? This dude is just wasting paper at this point. These are just straight out and out lies. It's skewed data. And it's skewed because the person who's doing the study has a dog in the fight. And the co-authors and doctors that he's conducting these completely unethical and inhumane studies with are on his payroll. Doesn't work, does it? That means basically everything that he's writing here, all his charts and all his bullshit, might as well be used for firewood and to wipe my ass with. Because it is not peer-reviewed. It is not an unbiased observation. Okay? This is not how any of this works. At all. And again, I will point you to the fact that 60 individuals is far too small of a group to conclusively prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that he is a genius and this will work for all disabilities all over the world. It's bullshit. Complete bullshit. Okay? Complete. Utter garbage. You cannot treat a myriad of disabilities and mental health issues as the same because they're not. There is no one treatment that is going to span the entire scope of mental health issues and neurological disabilities and learning disabilities that's going to work on 100% of them. That is bullshit. And what is even more interesting is that the only thing he can do to try to convince you of this is post papers that he himself wrote by co-sponsors of doctors whose salaries he's paying. So what does that tell us? That means no one within the larger medical community, particularly in his field, would ever corroborate this bullshit. And considering what they are actually willing to corroborate, remember, Yale not that long ago did a study basically chemically lobotomizing autistics by means of using radiation. That's saying a lot. So what are we getting here? The same message I've said like on the last fucking 3 videos now. This dude has such arrogance. that he's willing to cite himself as a source as to why he's right, which means any of the conclusions found from this paper are complete, utter garbage, thrown away by the majority of the medical community, because that's not how studies are supposed to be conducted. Nor is the test group that he's using near big enough to make the grandiose and overlarge conclusions that he's trying to make here. Okay? It's garbage, particularly when you're talking about a school with as varying different disabilities as the ones that he says he treats and cures inside his hellhole. None of the things that he says here or in his paper should be taken seriously by anyone. Anyone. And it is not taken seriously by anybody outside of his psychosphere. The fact that he can find no one outside of his little circle there to corroborate. What do we teach in science? At least we did in the fucking 90s. A conclusion cannot be necessarily be made until the results can be replicated several times over, in which case it then becomes a solid conclusion. Replicated by individuals who are not in any way, shape, or form affiliated with those who started the initial study. Dr. Matthew Israel can't show you that. He can only show you himself and his batshit, outdated, completely psychotic ideas, based off of a gentleman who was long ago discredited by most of the medical circles. It should not be taken seriously by anyone. And for parents who are thinking about taking their kids to this school because they're desperate, this dude has no one backing him. Even ABAI has finally dropped him. No one backs his insanity anymore. The majority of the medical community views him as an embarrassment. His school is something that should have been done away with long ago with the rest of the institutions. And it only survives because too many people are unwilling to question and dig into people with so-called doctor degrees. Now I'm going to close out on that. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time this morning. As always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye, everyone. See you next week.